You're still watching The Globe. The ANC Interim Provincial Committee in the North West province has confirmed that the long-awaited provincial conference will finally be held this coming weekend. The 9th Provincial Conference has been postponed 3 times due to disputes from various branches. The announcement to continue with the provincial conference was made in Rustenburg. Registration for the provincial conference is expected to commence tomorrow, whilst the actual official opening will be on Saturday. The conference is expected to end on Sunday. Well, for a little bit more on this, we're now joined by Professor Andre Duvenhage, who's with the North West University Business School, and he's also a political commentator. Prof, thanks very much indeed for joining us. Welcome to the program.
Good evening, Peter. Nice talking to you.
All right, so this provincial conference is going to take off after being delayed 3 times. What does that tell us about the state of affairs for the governing party in the North West?
Peter, this is a story coming over the past few decades of conflict, internal strife, political decay, corruption, municipalities that are falling apart, a highly divided ANC. And it reached a climax during the term of Mr. Supra Mahumapelo. And after that time, there was a lot of conflict. The province was put under administration. The ANC was completely dysfunctional, etc. And now for the first time, there will be elected leadership if this conference is going to be successful. But I must tell, this is going to be a highly contested election. If we only look at the position of chairperson, there are at least 5 candidates that will compete for this position. The 2 most prominent candidates are Mr. Nono Moloi, and the other one is the current premier, Mr. Bushi Mape. But then there are also 2 women candidates and a former mayor of the Nakamudiri Mulema municipality, Temba Kwabeni. So yes, it's going to be a difficult one. There's already a lot of disputes. My understanding was that 2 days ago, there was a meeting about the continuation of the conference, and it was decided that they will go forward and continue with the conference.
Unity has been a big issue for the governing party, and I just wonder, there'll be slates, there'll be divisions. Are they along similar lines to what we've seen in other provinces, where there seems to be an alignment with the former president and an alignment with the current president?
Yes, Peter, indeed, that is the case. The candidate of the RET group that are going to compete is Mr. Supra Mahumapelo. He's one of the 5 candidates that position himself for chairperson. And when it comes to the Ramaphosa lines, I believe that candidates like Nono Moloi and Bushi Mape is closer identified with the Ramaphosa line. The position of the 2 women, Masanogi and Khoshu, is more difficult to define. And some people are saying that we may see some sort of alliances developing in the build-up to the conference. But my take on the situation is that the 2 strongest candidates are Mr. Moloi on the one side and the current premier, Bushi Mape. And both of them are aligned to Ramaphosa in a general sense, although I picked up the influences of people like Paul Mashatile, Didi Mabuza, and so on. So yes, it is indeed reflecting national politics, but in a unique Northwest way.
Where is Supra Mahumapelo's influence in the province? Is it dissipating? Is it still being felt?
Well, in terms of the nomination process, as far as it is known, he was not nominated by a number of branches. And I think the strategy will be for him to be nominated from the floor. My take on it, on his position is that it is not as strong as the two other candidates, but he is still the representative of the so-called RET group. And we have seen a lot of internal conflict. Currently, I am picking up high levels of instability, at least in certain parts of the province. JB Marks Potchefstroom was an example in this regard. So I think there is going to be influences coming from the RET group. But I think if the conference continue, if everything took place according to plan, then I think we are going to see a province that is most probably aligned towards the Ramaphosa grouping in the ANC.
And what consequences will this have for the National Elective Conference? We saw what played out in KwaZulu-Natal, and I suppose people are already moving pieces on the chessboard to kind of position themselves for the National Elective Conference.
Peter, without any doubt, the tactical moves we have seen in KZN with the appointment of a premier, the shifts with the MECs, has all to do with the national conference towards the end of the year. But I think in a way, KZN, although the biggest province of all ANC provinces in the country, is a bit on its own in terms of provincial structures. So far, all provinces, with the exception of North West, Free State, and Western Cape, who all three still must have elections, are aligned to Ramaphosa. Only KZN is clearly aligned with the RET groups. But then we must take into consideration, and that's a big difference from the policy conference we had a week or what ago, is that the National Elective Conference will be decided by branches. And it's quite clear that the RET group has support in other provinces as well. So I think the national conference is also going to be a highly contested one. I think at this point, Mr. Ramaphosa is ahead, but many things can happen in a few months' time, especially in the ANC. We still have the Pala thing. We have a number of court cases running around in the country, so things can change. It is a very unpredictable political environment at the moment.
All right, unity is one thing. The other is stability. And I just wonder, after this weekend, yes, there will be people elected and people in positions in the party. Will that draw a line in the sand, do you think, for the province in terms of its political stability? Because it has been through some fairly turbulent times.
Peter, there's no doubt about it that South Africa, and now I'm talking about the state, not the ANC, although the ANC is probably one of the important factors in this regard, but the state as such is very unstable. If you compare South Africa to other states in terms of security indexes, you will find us very low down compared to countries where there's active civil war going on. And that is also the case in South Africa. And since, let's say, the last 2 or 3 months, we have seen a huge increase in patterns of instability. In fact, I would like to argue, since the insurrection or the rebellion of July last year, South Africa became a very unstable country in many ways. And the factors are indicating that this instability will continue. And specifically, in the context of KZN, it seems to be problematic. What is a huge concern to me is the level of readiness of the South African Police Service, as well as the South African National Defence Force in this regard. We have seen recent surveys and analyses indicating that the state of our security institutions are very weak. And we are, without any doubt, entering a phase I like to call Praetorian politics, or an environment of instability where security and military institutions tend to intervene into politics. This is the typical dynamic of a weak state that we are experiencing at the moment. And without any doubt, the losing group in the ANC, especially if it's going to be the RET, may resort to tactics to disrupt stability in the country. We have seen incidents, for example, what happened in around Windburg today, where they blocked the road. I think it was the N1 road they blocked. We have seen other patterns of instability. In fact, I have seen statistics indicating that we have about 300 plus armed robberies on a daily basis. And
Wow.
many people are making connections between these type of robberies and the political environment and dynamics related to politics.
Professor Duvenhage, that's where we'll leave it. Thank you so much indeed. Your insights greatly appreciated. Thanks for your time.